Parshas Lech Lecha, Tavshin Ayin Vav. So we begin now the season of what I always like to say is the season of the Avos. The season of the Avos and the Imais, where, we say many times, and Nesivos Shalom tells us that the Torah is always teaching us lessons. The Torah is not just a storybook that relates to us the different things that happened in our history. The Torah teaches us very, very important lessons, and lessons that are extremely pertinent to us. So when it comes to these parshios, that's when we sometimes have a challenge, because the quote stories and the things that we read in the Torah are so interesting, they're so intriguing, and yet we always have to remember that it's not something in history, something interesting that happened many years ago. The Torah is giving us these interesting and intriguing lessons because they're speaking to us, and they speak to us, every single person, in every generation. It is our responsibility to learn from the Avos, to learn from the Imais. And over the years now, the past couple of years, we've done quite a few lessons about Avraham Avinu. So it gets a little more challenging when we try each year to mention and to learn something that we really haven't spoken much about in the past years. And this year will be no different. We're going to try to go ahead and learn a lesson that's a bit different than the previous years. And this parsha specifically relates to us the different aspects of the life of Avraham Avinu. We have in this week's parsha, Parshas Lech Lecha, most of the nisyonos. We talk so much about the challenges and the tests that Avraham Avinu had in nisyonos. Most of the Asara nisyonos that Avraham Avinu went through are in our parsha. This week's parsha, there's a Mishnah, the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, Perek Hey, the Mishnah tells us, Asara nisyonos nisnasa Avraham Avinu ve'amad b'kulam. Avraham Avinu was faced with and challenged with 10 nisyonos, 10 different tests. Ve'amad b'kulam, that he stood up to these 10 nisyonos, all of them. And what does it tell us? It's up to Mishnah, L'hoidia, it comes to teach us how much was the love of Avraham Avinu for HaKadosh Baruch Hu? You know how we know it? We know it from the fact that Avraham Avinu stood up to these 10 tests, to these 10 challenges. And the Nesivos Shalom reminds us that what I just told you before, the Nesivos Shalom reminds us that every inyan in the Torah, there is a lesson for our lives. A lesson to teach us a way of life. How to conduct ourselves in our lives. And this parsha of the nisyonos of Avraham Avinu is no different. It's not just a story about Avraham Avinu. Nesivos Shalom quotes a few different svarim, and he tells us that just as, this is a very interesting point, he says, just as Avraham Avinu was tested with 10 nisyonos, so too, he says, each person throughout their own lives, every person in their life is tested somewhere along the way in your life, somewhere from the time that you're very young till the time that you're very old, somewhere throughout your life, you are tested with 10 nisyonos. Nesivos Shalom brings down, and he says this is true. Throughout your life, you're going to have 10 challenges, 10 different tests, 10 different ways that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that Hashem is testing you. And the Ramban tells us about Avraham Avinu that the biggest milah of Avraham Avinu were these nisyonos. That Avraham Avinu showed his love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu by standing up, withstanding these 10 nisyonos. And we know Avraham Avinu Avad had other milas. Of course, Avraham Avinu, Chazal tell us Avraham Avinu kept the Torah. And Avraham Avinu kept the mitzvahs. But you know what? Says Nesivos Shalom, Avraham Avinu wasn't the only one. There were others who kept the aspects and the mitzvahs of the Torah. And as real and as great as Avraham Avinu was, the greatest thing that Avraham Avinu had was standing up to the Nisyonos, showing his love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it is that way for each and every one of us. The best thing, the biggest thing that we could show for HaKadosh Baruch Hu is to always be an Eved Neman of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. To be there and be an Eved of HaKadosh Baruch Hu when we are being tested. Chazal tell us also, another Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, the following. Kol mi sheyesh biyodoi shloisha devarim halalu. Any person who has these three things in their lives, hu mitalmidav shel Avraham Avinu. A person that has these three traits, these three things, he is called a Talmud. It's a wonderful, if you have to say, which yeshiva, who are you a Talmud of? Imagine a person could say, I'm a Talmud of who? Avraham Avinu. Imagine. The Mishnah is telling us how you become a Talmud of Avraham Avinu. You have to have these three things. Three things are, ayin toiva, person who has a good eye, and there's different ways exactly of explaining this, but ayin toiva, most of us can understand what it is when you meet a person who has a good eye. A person who's always doesn't mean he has a good eye, he's able to see a 97 mile an hour fastball. It means you have a good eye, that you look at other people always in a good way. When you see a situation, you judge people the right way. Ayin toiva, a person who forgives other people. That's one trait of Avraham Avinu. The other two, ruach, lemucha, nefesh shvala, those have to do with a person not feeling that they're great, a person being humble, a person feeling that they themselves are nothing special. Those are the other two. But the first one, the first thing that makes you a Talmud of Avraham Avinu, that is ayin toiva. A person then he becomes a Talmud. Frek the Nesivos Shalom, a beautiful kasha. The Mishnah says that it's these three things that make a person Talmud of Avraham Avinu. We just went through a whole thing and said the biggest godless of Avraham Avinu was what? Not the fact that he kept the Torah, not the fact that he was a Baal Chesed, not the fact that Avraham Avinu kept mitzvahs. The biggest thing of Avraham Avinu was that he withstood and he stood up to the Nisyonos that he was given in this week's Parsha, and next week's Parsha, Avraham Avinu stood up to the 10 Nisyonos. Why does the Mishnah tell us that you become a Talmud of Avraham Avinu if you have an ayin toiva or a ruach nucha, nefesh shvala? Why is it those things? Why isn't that if a person also stands up to these type of nisyonos, you're a Talmud of Avraham Avinu? Isn't that what Avraham Avinu really stood for? Isn't chesed what Avraham Avinu really stood for? Why these three things in the Mishnah? So Nesivos Shalom tells us a very, very interesting thing. He says that the Amida b'Nisyonos, the fact that Avraham Avinu was able to stand up to the Nisyonos, and also another aspect of Avraham Avinu's life, the aspect that Avraham Avinu became and was the quintessential Baal Chesed, all those things in Avraham Avinu's life, they all come from these three milas of the Mishnah. In other words, when a person has an nisayon, and we've mentioned this on a number of different occasions, and it's good for a person to know this. It's Thomas a very good idea, being that we said that every person is faced with nisyonos in their lives. When a person has a nisayon, Dr. Nesivos Shalom, Hashem takes away all the person's intellectual ability, because otherwise, why is it a nisayon? If you're able to make cheshbonos, you're able to calculate at that moment and weigh all the options, see everything, it's not really that much of a nisayon. So when a person has a nisayon, Hashem takes away that person's intellectual ability. So what tools are you left with? What is a person left with when he has a nisayon? Nesivos Shalom says an amazing thing. You know what you're left with? A person is left with the midos and the things that he acquired in his life, the things that you worked on, the Mesiras Nefesh. The things and the midos and the things in your life that you worked on with Mesiras Nefesh, Hashem can never take that away from you. Those are yours. That's a kinyan. Those are things that you own. And that is the way it was with Avraham Avinu, says the Nesivos Shalom. When Avraham Avinu went through these nisyonos, yeah, of course it would be good to say that you're a Talmud of Avraham Avinu if you stand up to nisyonos. But when Avraham Avinu had the nisyon, you know what? Avraham Avinu was only left with the things of the Mishnah. What made it that Avraham Avinu could stand up to the nisyonos? You know what made it that Avraham Avinu could stand up to them? Those were the things that he worked on. The ayin tova. The fact that Avraham Avinu always saw the good in everybody, and we see how important that is. The fact that Avraham Avinu didn't hold of himself, he had a nefesh shvala, he felt himself to be nothing. It's those things that were made it that Avraham Avinu was able to stand up to the nisyonos. And it's the same thing that made Avraham Avinu be such a master, a Baal Chesed, a person who was able to be called the quintessential Baal Chesed. You know where that came from? That came from those midos in the Mishnah. So what makes a person a Talmud of Avraham Avinu? You know what makes you a Talmud of Avraham Avinu? When you have those midos. And that's what Avraham Avinu taught to all the people around him. We say Avraham Avinu was a teacher. That's what he taught. When we say that the Avos learned Torah, so we said, Avraham Avinu learned Torah. You know, but when we say the Avos learned Torah, it says in Nesivos Shalom, you know what was the Torah of the Avos? The Torah of the Avos was the Midas. Because we all know, says in Nesivos Shalom, there was no Torah. It was before Kabbalah's a Torah. And we say Avraham Avinu kept the Torah, the Avos kept the Torah. You know what they kept? They kept the Midas. They kept the things that they taught themselves. They taught the world what it is to have midos. They taught the world what it is and how important it is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Nesivos Shalom has told us many times, it's actually not in the shtickle, but many times throughout the entire Nesivos Shalom, he says that the entire Torah, the entire human being rise a merkava on midos. If you don't have midos, you can't even get started with the Torah. So that's what Avraham Avinu, that's what he taught. There was no actual Torah as we know it before Kabbalah's Torah. So Zok Nesivos Shalom, that's why the Mishnah says, Kol mi sheyesh biyodai. Anyone who has in his hands, you have it packed away in your hands, not Kol mi sheyesh. You have the midas of Avraham Avinu. No, you work on it, and you work on it very hard until you make it part of you, biyodai, like Talmudai biyodai. You have it in your hand. Then you become a Talmud of Avraham Avinu. When you have the midas and you make it become a real part of you. And the common denominator, says in the Nesivos Shalom, of these midas of Avraham Avinu is the bittul. Where Avraham Avinu felt that he himself was nothing. And that's what ayin tova comes from. Ayin tova, if you feel that you're better than everybody, you're great, you can't have an ayin tova. You have to be able to forgive other people because you understand that you yourself are nothing. It's the people around you that are so special. We don't look at the chesroinus of other people. We look at everybody and we constantly see their mileage. Once you put yourself in the equation, you don't have the ayin tova. And that, says in the Nesivos Shalom, is the yisoid of Chassidus. The yisoid is that we don't think much of ourselves. We're always looking for the good of other people. We be warm to other people. It's other people that keep us going. And this is what makes a person a Talmud of Avraham Avinu. And this is the lessons we need to learn from this parsha. We want to be a Talmud of Avraham Avinu. You want to be that. You have to act like Avraham Avinu. You have to start with the base. Start with the ground floor. What it says in the Mishnah. Ayin tova. Always look at the good of other people and always be humble yourself.